because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Jingati drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. It is Wednesday, 5th of April, 2023. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Yes, quite a very rainy Wednesday morning, but I guess right now as I speak, this shouldn't come as a surprise to you. You are supposed to be ready for this mentally and physically, seeing as April is a very rainy month, and we've had right from a number of weathermen and weatherwomen warn us to get ourselves ready. Anytime the rain could actually come in, be it in the morning, be it in the afternoon, mid-morning, in the evening, during night time. So it is entirely up to you to make sure that you are ready. Well, this morning is very, very interesting. A lot that happened yesterday. And I just really want to know one thing from Felix here, who's joining me this morning. What happens if a minister refuses to take an oath before they face a committee in Parliament to draw accountability for their actions? Because as far as we are concerned, this is what actually happened when we speak of the Karamoja Affairs Minister, that is Honorable Mary Goreti Chitutu. Yesterday, when she was supposed to be going or standing before the Parliamentary Presidential Affairs Committee, she decided not to take the oath before she decided to give her side of the story. And this did not exactly sit well with the members on this committee. And I'm just wondering, Felix, what's the worst that can happen when you refuse to do something like that? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling?
Lovely. How are you doing?
Well, I'm okay. How yourself? How's what's with the red?
Well, it's just another color right now. There is no special attachment to it, so we're good.
Nothing unique.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing special about it.
Well, anyway, in regards to what you did ask, you see, there's a challenge of contradicting investigations in regard to this.
Yes.
The Parliament has lodged an inquest. I also understand the State House has something. Police has been deterred also.
Yes.
You know, so sometimes I think people who are being investigated also get confused somehow. But a refusal to take oath,
yes,
I think is implication of two things. It does imply two things. One,
yes,
either someone doesn't believe in the Bible, that could be a ground and it is sustainable, or the person doesn't actually is so scared about the facts they have to give that contravene the Bible, if they believe in the Bible that much. But also the third is quite weird, that probably they just don't respect the process. Simply because the process doesn't have the hand to apprehend.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Because, I mean, if you get to a point where there's not much you can do to me, I can't do anything before you.
You know what I actually think is that they have too much respect, and I don't know whether this is far-fetched, but they have too much respect for the Bible, and they know that whatever it is they're going to say may be just covering a bit of some truths and leaving out some information, or probably relaying the wrong information. So to avoid that kind of guilt, I took an oath and I am lying intentionally, so I may as well skip this whole
but that would be the last bit of the puzzle. I know for a fact that sometimes people lie even when they're on oath. With my experience.
But can we both agree that that is boldness?
But no.
Why?
But let me ask you something. I think by the time you see you cannot compare boldness vis-a-vis misallocation of an appropriated object or something. If someone was able to do the previous, it's just like telling a murderer to come, and if they tell you they fear to get the Bible and take an oath, yet they killed someone, which is a greater problem they face. So it's a bit laughable if it comes off in that sort of direction. But also, Philo, today is Women's Crush Wednesday, you say?
Yes, it is. It is Women Crush Wednesday. And
do you want to crush on anyone?
Do I want to crush on any woman right now? It's a little bit, I don't have anybody in specific right now. Yeah, I don't really have anybody in mind, but I am pretty sure
so
as the day goes by,
you'll get somebody.
I will get somebody. Let me ask
something. Have you ever been on a plane and the lady is a pilot?
Oh, yes. I've even seen a very old Ugandan female pilot here.
So this woman will come out and tell you, my name is Philomena Mastiko. I'll be your pilot from, let's say, Uganda to Doha. Blah, blah, blah. We shall be going this route. The temperatures will be this. Expected to reach at this point. Thank you so much for flying with Uganda Airways. Isn't that a good sound? Does that sound beautiful?
It does. Does that mean you're crushing on our female pilots?
Absolutely. So I'm going. I'm thinking that people who do aviation work, majorly pilots, Mollen will come here and start talking about those people who do weather as aviators, but me, I'm focusing on pilots. But there's going to be time for us to crush on the Mollens as well. But something did happen, and I don't know why you're laughing, Philomena, but something did happen. You know, when it rains in Kampala, that's when you see that we are living in a slum city, even as harsh as Kampala Road. And I wonder what people pride in. With due respect, yesterday we were having another very heated conversation with some of the colleagues in office, and we were thinking, what is the role of a mayor in this case?
Aside from doing whatever it is that he does currently?
Honestly, we need to sit down and think about these things. Away from the politics and the heckling and what is the role? To open up markets, to come, what?
You know, at one point right now, with the way things are going, Felix, I am forced to believe that one of his primary roles that he has, that is probably self-appointed, is to become an intermediator between, a mediator between the other people of Kampala and government, which I really don't know if that is
the technical and the political wing.
I mean, I don't know, is that a technical role that he should
Those guys are always, and that's the problem I have with, anyway, countries that don't have politics will definitely be able to achieve, because these people are always on radios. If you hear what they say on radio and what they do, they speak buckets of words and do volumes of spoon in terms of, it's sad. Honestly, today again, I want to talk about the potholes. Philomena. And now that it's raining, you'll hit, your car will drown in a pothole.
Because ideally when it's raining, whether we like it or not, yes, The vision is also blurred by, there is blurry vision by a number of drivers. So if your headlamps are not really working perfectly, even if they were, it's a bit crazy because the number of potholes you will hit before you get to your destination, especially if you're on the road in the wee hours of the day or maybe the later hours of the night, it becomes a little bit confusing, it becomes a little bit irritating. It's everything but not but nice or good. So there is still quite a lot. But you know what, Felix, I am not losing hope. KCCA, and I will still talk about KCCA because it's an institution that has this responsibility to make sure that they start on this work. They did promise us at the start of this year. I know I am not losing all hope. I am giving them a benefit. I'm giving them a benefit of doubt. Oh,
please,
well.
and even if we
and
were,
I'm not saying we are gullible. We are not really gullible. We are not going to fall for these
Philomena,
excuses. But we can at least give them a benefit of doubt.
you give them, I have no doubt for them. I don't like people. You see, people love to get excuses, and it's been found of Ugandan institutions, once more government institutions. Yeah. People love to explain a lot. And for the thing is that this is done on the most important things, and on the most less important, they just execute.
Completely without having any pressure mounted on them.
Eh? Have you seen the new cars some government officials are driving? 2022.
They need to make sure that they navigate these
just
roads.
One of those cars would cost more than 500 million shillings.
But now, Felix, you want these guys to fall in the potholes. That's why they're going to get these expensive cars. Oh. Well, it's Good Morning Uganda, but also, Felix, this entire month of April, it's actually a month of creating awareness when it comes to sexual assault in our communities, when it comes to schools, when it comes to workplaces, when it comes to churches, anywhere and everywhere. We know that sexual assault or harassment can really appear. And yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and they were telling me, but what exactly do we mean by sexual assault? How do you come out to, categorize an offense or an act to be an act of sexual assault? And I was like, but you see, if people don't give consent, definitely, whether you are making coarse comments at them, whether you are making suggestions towards men and women, anything that is going to offend somebody sexually, it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be verbally, it could be anything of that sort. It's going to be sexual harassment.
But Philomena, me, I love some women or girls or ladies. Man, you don't just take them on fun and they'll look at you, they will start be victimizing themselves. Yes. Me, I'm a woman. Have you ever had a woman lash out at someone?
Oh yes, I have done it before.
And that's the way to go.
Yes.
Sometimes, like one of the defenses in law for torts is self-help. So as you celebrate this month, we shall have a discussion about, why do you do this? Don't do this. But let's also have a discussion about women fighting back in times like this. All right? You must also have a role, and you must have some sort of like self-help in relation to this. One, equip yourself with the relevant knowledge to defend yourself. If yours is artillery verbal, equip it, have enough. If someone comes your way, fire is cool with fire. Sometimes, not all times. Philomena, I can see, is very happy about that one.
I mean, for me, I will be very
vocal. It works for you.
It really works for me. I will call you out.
Honestly.
I don't care whether you're my boss or you're not. I will definitely call you out.
If they have attacked your person, and in particular gender. And the other one is about also being reasonable. You see, sometimes it's not just about arguing, but you can reason out someone, But also the most important one, there are women who are physical. I don't know if you've met any.
Oh yeah.
What? And I've seen a woman slap someone. In fact, up to now I'm scared of this woman, even when I keep my distance in office. I've seen it.
You know the most, the most that she can do. But I think it's very, very offensive.
In fact, the other slap had some water on it, because I remember a chick, I think, was from the bathroom. When you have some water in the pump, the sound was, it was like thunder. Everyone had to run. But so in this month, as we do celebrate all this about limiting assault and abuse of women, that is physically, mentally, but also verbally, let us also fight for the rights of women. Women are normally marginalized. It's a matter of fact in very many aspects, but it's our role, we who don't seem to be marginalized, to also reduce this gap between the gender indifferences.
Well, there you go. But also, speaking of that, there's quite a number of changes that were made when it comes to police. I did see all over the news the changes that came, showing how the IGP was making reshuffles right from commissioners in police all the way to assistant superintendents. So definitely, as we go on, we'll be breaking down how and who was taken where, why. All of these changes we do believe are very necessary for you to put into play. Well, that's a lot really indeed is happening locally and internationally. Yesterday, I don't know if you followed up, Felix, Donald Trump eventually was taken for his hearing. Was quite interesting looking at his journey all the way from the Trump Tower to court. There was a certain commentary that was made, and they said previously when he was president, while he was seated in his SUVs, his windows would be lowered for a minute for him to wave at his supporters. This time around, there was nothing like that.
But wanted him to wave to who now?
Well,
the guy is no longer a president. Why do you want him to wave?
Well, they expected, you know
no
how
supporters.
you know how Trump
Come
is.
let Trump be. Let our Trump be.
Yes.
Let our restaurant. That man is a superstar man.
Yeah.
Honestly, and that is an indication of how people can fight successful people. I've seen how this country has fought this man. So sometimes I even don't comment much about his story. Some of these things are intentional to bring our Donald Trump down.
He's your Donald
we
Trump.
Miss him.
Well, when you say we, what do you mean?
The Trumpists.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get into our local stories and international stories. What's happening
and
around?
I know you're one, by the way. Now, also looking at our local stories, one of our first stories we'll be looking at the First Lady, who did come out and also did talk about young people and imploring them to shun homosexuality and those in support of the LGBTQ movement. And the First Lady appealed to young people not to be enticed by money, by favors, or by lies that are being abandoned around. She emphasized that homosexuality and all that goes with it is grievous sin. Now, President Paul Kagame and William Ruto have lauded the East African community nations for their clear guidance in resolving security situations in the Eastern Republic of Congo. The leader also praised Uganda for sending the UPDF troops to bolster the East African force already present in Congo, and the commendation were made during a joint press conference held at State House in Rwanda. The General Court Martial in Machindi has opened other accounts of treason against 32 NUP supporters. However, a lawyer for the accused objected to the charges, saying it was wrongly brought against the accused, thus refusing them to take plea. Meanwhile, Mpigi High Court has also confirmed Nayebade Sylvia as duly elected member of Parliament for Gomba District after dismissing NUP's Sentamu Betty election petition, and she had filed against her. But lastly, in local stories, government is also on track to restore 2.5 million hectares of degraded land by the year 2030, a move aimed at increasing the country's green cover. This was echoed by a Permanent Secretary, Minister of Water and Environment during the launch of the site, a species matching tool for forestry. Now, the tool helps commercials, trees growers to select suitable species for particular sites in Uganda to minimize loss.
Well, crossing over to the international scene, former United States President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty in New York City to a string of charges linked to hush money payments ahead of the 2016 presidential vote, including one made to an adult film star. Trump, the first former president to be criminally prosecuted in U.S. history, entered a Manhattan courtroom shortly before 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday to formally hear the accusations against him. The Republican leader faces 34 felony charges of falsifying New York business records to conceal damaging information and unlawful activity from American voters before and after the 2016 election, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said as the indictment was unsealed. Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor overseeing the case, said the so-called catch-and-kill scheme included 3 payoffs, including $130,000 US paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The Taliban have issued an order to ban Afghan women employees of the United Nations staff from working throughout Afghanistan, according to a UN spokesperson. Stefan Dujarric said this was the latest in a disturbing trend undermining the ability of aid organizations to work in Afghanistan, where some 23 million people, more than half the country's population, need help. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres would view any ban on Afghan women working for the United Nations in the country as unacceptable and frankly inconceivable, he said. Spokespeople for the Taliban administration and the Afghan Information Ministry did not immediately reply. However, 2 UN sources told local media houses that concerns about the enforcement of the ban had prompted the United Nations to ask all staff not to come to the office for 48 hours. Now, about 1 in 6 people around the world are affected by infertility during their lifetime, according to a new report from the World Health Organization, which says more work needs to be done to improve access to affordable, high-quality fertility care. The UN's health agency says about 17.5% of the adult population experience infertility, with little variation in the prevalence of infertility between different parts of the world. Lifetime prevalence was 17.8% in high-income countries and 16.5% in low- and middle-income countries. The report reveals an important truth: infertility does not discriminate. Dr. Tedros Adhanom, the World Health Organization's Director General, said in a statement. Weather and climate, it started off inconspicuously like any other tropical storm, but Cyclone Freddy, born off the northwest coast of Australia in early February, was anything but ordinary. It intensified, then headed west and crossed the southern Indian Ocean, traveling more than 8,000 kilometers to reach southeast Africa. By the time it eventually dissipated after making 2 landfalls in mid-March, it had become the longest-lasting tropical cyclone in recorded history. It was also the most powerful storm ever recorded in the southern hemisphere, with its trail of destruction leaving more than 600 people dead and more than 1.4 million affected. Yet, even as Malawi and Mozambique, the worst-hit nations, were desperately pursuing rescue efforts, a devastating tornado ripped through the southern American state of Mississippi in late March, killing more than 24 people and destroying towns. And late last week, powerful storms and tornadoes struck a vast swathe of the American South and Midwest, killing at least 22 people. Now, such deadly storms often exacerbate humanitarian crises in affected societies. Madagascar, also hit by Cyclone Freddy, was already reeling from the effects of deadly tropical cyclones in 2022 that killed more than 100 people on the island nation. Still have some more big stories in our dailies, the Daily Monitor and the New Vision. Felix, what's going on in the Daily Monitor?
We're looking at online money lenders preying on Ugandans, and they give you a breakdown on how it's done and what they actually do. Now, joyous MP Nyonyintono Segirinya returned to Parliament. There's a big photo here of them kneeling at the staircases of the Parliament. Now, questions and answers for English, mathematics, science and social studies. Inside, there's a pull-out. Now, house flipping when you buy low to sell high. And also, ghost circles share at least 30 billion PDM money. Awesome. Donald Trump charged in New York court, pleads not guilty.
When do we get to stop hearing stories like that, Felix?
It is what it is.
Well, switching to the New Vision, minister arrested over iron sheets, accused of abuse of office. Deputy Nandutu returns diverted items. Now, IGG orders 1,300 to refund public money. And a fake doctor accused of rape is mentally sound, says police. Nyonyintono murder suspects were ex-convicts. And also Trump arraigned in court. Get yourself the New Vision and the Daily Monitor to make sure that you are in check with information happening around. Of course, later on we'll be looking into the Daily Nation and also the Citizen. But also very important for you, make sure you get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah this morning, a ginger tea drink. We also do have the tamarind and the banana flavors, whichever works for you. Now, we're not saying this heals anything, but we are talking about building your immunity in the long run to make sure that your body is ready for any disease attack, or at least it builds on your immunity as you go by. Just at 1,500 Uganda shillings, you can grab a bottle and the flavor of your own choosing or preference. It's Good Morning Uganda Women Crush Wednesday. Obviously, we are going for a break, and that means we'll be listening to one song from one of the greatest women you've ever had, locally or internationally. When we get back, more discussions still queued up for you in the newsreel. Good Morning Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Madame, on se calme. Là, c'est bon. Non, on y va. On y va. Allez, allez. D'accord. Pourquoi on y va?
Sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Jingati drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. It is Wednesday, 5th of April, 2023. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Yes, quite a very rainy Wednesday morning, but I guess right now as I speak, this shouldn't come as a surprise to you. You are supposed to be ready for this mentally and physically, seeing as April is a very rainy month, and we've had a right from a number of weathermen and weatherwomen warn us to get ourselves ready. Anytime the rain could actually come in, be it in the morning, be it in the afternoon, mid-morning, in the evening, during night time. So it is entirely up to you to make sure that you are ready. Well, this morning is very, very interesting. A lot did happen yesterday, and I just really want to know one thing from Felix here, who's joining me this morning. What happens if a minister refuses to take an oath before they face a committee in Parliament to draw accountability for their actions? Because as far as we are concerned, this is what actually happened when we speak of the Karamoja Affairs Minister, that is Honorable Mary Chitutu. Yesterday, when she was supposed to be going or standing before the Parliamentary Presidential Affairs Committee, she decided not to take the oath before she decided to give her side of the story. And this did not exactly sit well with the members on this committee. And I'm just wondering, Felix, what's the worst that can happen when you refuse to do something like that? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling?
Lovely. How are you doing?
Well, I'm okay. How yourself? How's what's with the red? On this Wednesday?
Well, it's just another color right now. There is no special attachment to it, so we're good.
Nothing unique.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing special about it.
Well, anyway, in regards to what you did ask, you see, there's a challenge of contradicting investigations in regard to this.
Yes.
The Parliament has lodged an inquest. I also understand the State House has something. Police has been deterred also.
Yes.
You know, so sometimes I think people who are being investigated also get confused somehow. But a refusal to take oath,
yes,
I think is implication of two things. It does imply two things. One,
yes,
either someone doesn't believe in the Bible, that could be a ground and it is sustainable, or the person doesn't actually is so scared about the facts they have to give that contravene the Bible, if they believe in the Bible that much. But also the third is quite weird, that probably they just don't respect the process.
My name is Philomena Mastiko. 6 minutes past 7 a.m. Wednesday at that, and of course I am with Felix Nkunda, and our discussion here is definitely very important to you as a professional in whatever field it is that you appreciate it. Looking at professionalism and all these disciplines that we have chosen to make our own, that we have chosen to really prioritize in. How well are we doing that when it comes to appreciation or professionalism in all these different workspaces? Why am I saying what I'm saying? We have had a couple of stories, and even very, very recently as today and even yesterday, we are having very many stories of police coming out, telling us or picking out people who are breaking codes of conduct, especially when it comes to these practitioners in these different fields. We did see police come out yesterday to give a report on a culprit who was, or you could call him a fake doctor, who was arrested over a rape, and it is actually said that, or alleged, that he raped about 60 women who came in job seeking. He was disguising, he's actually a doctor, but a fake one, if we must say that. But this is not the only one. We've seen other people from different fields come in. We're talking about engineers, we're talking about lawyers, who have all failed to practice professionalism in their different work fields. The question here is, who is to blame for all of this? Is it the individuals, the practitioners of these specific people in these professionals, or could it be society that is driving them to do whatever it is they are doing? Where do we apportion this blame? And how do we get to uphold professionalism in all these different workspaces? And of course, when we talk about professionalism, we are looking at professional parameters, including legal and ethical issues. We are looking at professional behavior. We are looking at professional responsibilities. All of these three parameters, how do we get to uphold them in all these different spaces? I do believe that every, work discipline has their different code of conduct. As journalists, there is a certain code of conduct they're supposed to follow.
You're wondering, when you give the examples of professions who have fallen short of their practice,
yes,
you didn't mention journalists. And I was here thinking how selfish you can be, but the way you mentioned lawyers and how you even
journalists, I mean, no, it's just an example.
That example is biased.
There is no bias intended,
Trust
but I
me.
mean, we know that there are very many journalists who have fallen short.
Yeah,
on their
many
code of
journalists are
very,
definitely
very
wanting, and many media houses are wanting. So please involve them in the discussion that we shall talk about.
I am not biased, really. Journalists, lawyers, doctors,
You see what you do with your face when you talk about lawyers.
lawyers. This man really.
Okay.
But anyway, in your fields, those that I do not know of, I am sure there are people who have fallen short on their code of conduct. So where do we throw this blame, Felix, without having to throw any bias?
Well, it already exists. It's already evident that it's a big cat in the room. But Philomena, you did bring quite a very sensitive topic for us to touch when you do talk about professionalism. Now, it is a true conglomerate aspect that we normally lose track of in terms of practice. Professionalism carries the notion of being unique. In fact, for you to get it well, look at professionalism as as a particular appreciation of acceptable practices in different disciplines. Acceptable practices. This, later on, connote it to ethical practices. And that's the minimum bearing. That's where the buck will stop. If you don't see this be qualified in any practice of any individual, you will know there's a problem. Lately, even if you can go to police and you will be shocked. And so unfortunately, I don't know if you have the statistics of professional crimes or offenses that are reported annually. You'll be surprised that some of them are even much, much more than some of these other lucrative offenses that we meet on side roads or whatever. But why? You ask the question trying to appreciate the genesis of why this is most recent anomaly I'll start with the journalist, in as much as you wanted to be last.
Well, it's a circle will always go around.
Yeah, but of course we shall end up with others.
Yes.
But I want to just use it as an example.
Yes.
Journalism, if you take time to read about what journalism is, the thesis of the same, the beginning and the intention, you will be shocked to be revealed upon yourself that journalism is one of the most important professions, yet not appreciated. Because where the people didn't reach, what the people didn't see, what the people didn't hear, the journalists so came and told. Today morning, you've been talking about Donald Trump's case. It's in New York. You're here in the gutters of ditches in Kampala. But you can expressly discuss the trial of Donald Trump in the New York. That's the power. Uganda is in DRC. None of us is there. But every day here, we get a report. How? Do you think it is by the Holy Spirit? It's not incarnation. Now, you get a very expensive aspect like that, a very expensive profession, and it is abused. I wanted to bring this, like what we tell people, like on TV today here. We sit here and we start saying, imagine we wake up one day and good morning Uganda, all it discusses is the ugly aspects of this country. The kids who are listening, you're telling them Uganda is the worst country. Your leaders are the worst leaders. That is what we do on TV. We say that year in, year out, year in, year out. Your president is the worst. Your MPs are the worst. And that is the message we are sending out on a daily. There are people who don't have the privilege to know what the president has said in that day. Like read the story of the First Lady.
Yes.
And her true sense about homosexuality and how youth should behave. There are people who don't know that. But there are people who are keen to listen. Maybe even information passes them somehow. Now, what I'm trying to build up is to try to bring to you the purpose of professionalism. The reason why professionalism is key, and there's a professional bar you must raise yourself against. The reason why it's key for us to hold professionalism in every sort of discipline we do is this, that largely the people who are below our profession, who are beneficiaries of our professionalism, don't have an idea about what we do as professions. I don't know if it makes a bit of sense. That because I'm a lawyer, when you come to me, you don't know anything to do with civil procedure rules, criminal procedure. You don't know what the Court Appeals Act says. You don't know what the presidential. You don't know what the Penal Code says. You don't know what the Constitution. That's why you come for professional advice. Now, the requirement of professionalism is what is supposed to limit abuse of professions. It's what I was talking about journalism. I've given you another example in legal practices, that when you come to me, because you don't have knowledge, and you don't have to have knowledge, that's why there are people who are there to do that, and I abuse that, I have done a disservice to you. Because I have used your absence of knowledge to abuse you. That's why it comes back to, let me give you an example. Let me take you to churches. When you go to some of the Pentecostal churches, some, and even others, I've not had this case in many of the Catholic churches, but you find someone who has focused probably their preaching on a particular aspect of what he wants you to, not what the requirement of being a minister is. Now, that's what's professionalism walks line in line with something called standardization.
Yes.
When you can't have 1 million lawyers, but each one is having their own standards. that ceases to be a professional requirement. When you come to the institution of engineers, every engineer can't have a specific appreciation of professionalism. There must be a standard. Okay? That's what qualifies professionalism. Now, what do we see today? How many times do we read of stories in the papers where we see doctors raping their clients? In fact, some of these stories are very...
Well, we have seen doctors, we have seen journalists extorting money from
Journalists
a couple
extorting
of people.
money?
Oh, yes.
That's a daily thing.
It's a daily thing. But it doesn't actually, we shouldn't really
no.
be... Yeah,
it
can't be a normal
you
thing.
See?
There is nothing about that. It's a normal thing.
The continuous practice of the act normalizes it.
But that doesn't...
We have talked
exactly
about police officers.
Yes.
Here. It is, in fact, you who doesn't give the bribe to a police officer, you're the one now who's abnormal. That's what I'm saying. Now it has been normalized. And that's why when you come to our field of journalism or to TV or production, you find that we are struggling with what is on our screens and on the radios because of compromise and professionalism. A couple of months ago here, we had a discussion, I think, with you and Robert about people who take on airspace to discuss national issues. I have had presenters on TVs and radios who are there just to abuse other people. What content is that? When you go on air to say, Philomena is stupid, Philomena is this, and that's probably for 1 hour. Who's paying you for that? Remember, we have said professionalism has a requirement. Because you know what we don't know, we are giving you our trust to inform us of that we don't know, that you actually know. So, you did bring a topic of professionalism in a right time. Uganda is struggling with professionalism. Let me just put it that way. Because, and then you ask the question, is it a personal problem, institutional problem, or academic, or let alone family problem?
Because we need to understand, this unprofessionalism, the lack of competency in all these different disciplines, is it influenced by the environments around us? Is it influenced by, I'll give, for example, when it comes to journalism, one of the biggest challenges I will say that we face is sensationalism. And can we say that this is influenced by whatever is going on around us, or by who are we talking about in that sense? Can we blame the circumstances around us? Can we blame the society? Or it's just an individual who doesn't appreciate the kind of discipline they work? Or maybe they're just unaware, but this would be a very lame excuse. You can't be subscribing to a certain discipline and you do not know the code of ethics that guides that specific discipline.
Is the problem actually not knowing?
Should that be the problem, though?
Because I'm assuming these people know what they are doing. They know what they are doing.
Because you cannot tell me, Felix, a doctor does not know what they should do and what they shouldn't do professionally. Another person from another profession, they should know what they shouldn't do. Or
but what are the repercussions? That should be a starting point. Because some of us who have bothered to pass on knowledge in the guidance of lecturing or teaching, don't ever make a mistake of making a threat that you cannot actually see through. When you make a threat, you must have the power to execute the punishment or carry the same weight to that threat. When I tell you, Philomena, don't copy in an exam, I must have something to do to you if you actually
copy.
Are there repercussions of people's acts? That's one of, and you see, people fear. I'll take you to our profession that I know, the legal profession. I know for a fact that many of my colleagues have been disbanded. I know that for a fact. I have seen it in cases where law council has come out, the Uganda Law Society, and people have been disbanded for practice law. And most of the times, even a client will tell you, I am going to take you to law counsel. Where do they take journalists? Where do they take engineers? Where do they take these doctors?
The teachers.
Where do they take teachers? Where do they take all these accountants? Where do they take auditors? Are there repercussions? Professionalism, again, cannot exist without a watchdog. Now, these associations you see, they don't have the power because they even have subscription. That means that some people may choose not to subscribe to them.
They don't have the power, technically. They should be having the power.
Because of the formation. You know that there should be an act to give you that power. Not because, excuse me, you sat about 3 or 4 journalists, then you chose among yourselves. If actually you did what you appointed, you're going. You must have a statutory existence to have this power. Because you know what it takes to record someone's degree?
Quite a lot.
So, that's the thing. But I'm giving you an example of what I know. They will recall your practicing certificate as a lawyer for a particular time, as they may agree, given what you did. They may even disband you forever and you can never step in any court to advocate. Professionalism must have a parallel repercussion. When these journalists go on TV to attack people's personalities, away from taking them to court, do we have a professional way of dealing with this? You see, professionalism is not in the vacuum. It's in the practices we pass on to be binding to our fellow professions. Do we do that? When a doctor does something wrong, who is the first point of contact? Now, as we teach people these various professions, we must teach them also to submit to these professions. But do people submit to their professions? People are struggling with, actually, the biggest contestation today is manifested in the struggle between people and their professions. People want to be bigger
than the professional,
than their
the profession
actual professions.
Itself. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'll use a lot of journalists. You find a journalist on radio and TV, someone even has the audacity to lash out against their own professions. Someone goes in there and says, "Toyina ky'omusobola kunkola." Now, that is you struggling with your own profession. You find a lawyer who is more. For them, they want to think that they are more of a lawyer than actually a lawyer.
But doesn't that zero down again back to there is no one who is actually overseeing this, even these associations? The fact that there is no statutory recognition.
Absolutely.
Because somebody is going to ask you, who are you? In what capacity are you recording my practice in, license or whatever? Who are you? What gives you the audacity? Does the law actually allow this? Do you have any, is that your mandate really? And what gives you that mandate to do that?
And that's what we struggle with. That the institutions that should be checking these people professionally don't have the power.
They're also not professional. So.
you find people, and I've seen some of the colleagues in, I think the one for journalists is called UJA.
The Uganda
They come
Journalists
here
Association.
to look for votes, poor women and men of God. After getting the votes, now, there's that political. They are looking at an electorate. You voted me. How will I apprehend you? Even if I wanted, there's no. Then you have to subscribe. Those kind of things. Let us also know this, Philomena. Don't you think, in your opinion, Philo, that there are some professions that should have pre-entry? Should everyone, for example, be a journalist?
As a way of sieving out some of these professions. Yes.
Because today we have rabbits, goats, sheep, cockroaches, what? Everyone has, because the qualification lately is bundles, whether they are free bundles or Wi-Fi, as long as you can tap on internet, then you go live.
As long as you have that accessibility.
Who is checking this? But remember, I've told you, what is professionalism? That appreciation of a particular level of knowledge that will cause confidence for people to listen and follow that professional advice or information. In elections, people used to say, Kampala ekutta omuliro. Those were journalists. They are on the internet. Kampala ekolachi. But we are here walking around Kampala. Kampala is on fire. We looked for the fire.
Well, we're looking at professionalism in different workspaces. What's the challenge? Who is to take the blame entirely? Is it from a personal perspective? Individuals who are just probably struggling with that, with keeping up with the professionalism in these different disciplines that they have appreciated? Or could we say that society has a major role to play when it comes to people being very unprofessional? And when we say this is the society, and indeed when you talk about the journalists, the ones who are really the journalists, because now we cannot continue misusing the word, the journalists who have probably been able to grab themselves a big following, or doctors who obviously you know that you're extorting money or you're stealing government drugs and you're selling them at your own private practice or whatever, and there are people who keep recommending other people and they tell you, but a doctor, no, you may not do it the straight way, but if you go there you'll get what it is that you want. Or lawyers, I don't know how you people do it the wrong way, the lawyers who are fake. I mean, the people, the society that supports others, could we also apportion a certain blame of that? We actually know, we actually know that these professionals in these fields are doing the wrong thing, but regardless, we still continue to give them our attention, depending on whatever field it is in. Don't you think we also have a part of blame to take?
You know, I'll take you back to something I said, Philomena. Because you're a journalist, when you report a matter, I take it as gospel truth. Because I'm under the disguise that you are a professional person in that area. When you meet me and you say, hey, no, I want you to meet our counsel, and then we talk about things, the technique, it is on very rare occasions that you won't be convinced that what I'm saying is true. Now, that confidence that professions have, you can't blame it on misleading. We are looking at an ignorant crowd vis-a-vis a very informed crowd. As I've told you, when I wake up here one day, because there are people who don't even know what the First Lady said yesterday, but we'll wake up probably because UBC is something they can watch either on free to air. Is it free on air? Free for air?
Free to air.
What?
Free to air.
Yeah, that free to air, or probably, and maybe they can get it in as deep in Koboko. But I'm here saying the First Lady is the most useless. Okay. Now that person, I'm putting something in her head.
You're indoctrinating the person.
Yes, because she doesn't know what she's not following what the First Lady's office is doing. Now, and that is the bigger population. The problem is that we are deceived by this 2 million of people in Kampala. But Uganda is 45 million people around that. Now, the 40 million are getting wrong information. And that works in favor of some people. Because they feed on unprofessionalism. You've seen pastors here today who have told you that you go and eat rice, it will heal you. But since when? Some of us who have read the Bible, someone tells you, holy ring. Holy ring? What we have our way? Someone says you that I'm going to resurrect someone. abantu ne batuula ne balinda omuntu azuukire. Now, because it is what, you know, the brain psychologically, the brain appreciates information, what we call, it is a continuous appreciation. But if we come down and tell you, Philomena, I think you're this. Tomorrow, you're this. Still, you're this. On the fourth day, you'll start to think of it like, even if you, in the first day, you'll be like, don't tell me. The second day, the third day, like, no, oh, what? The fourth day, like, I think it. The fifth day, even if it's not there, because that's how the brain works. Now, we have people here who do something continuously and it becomes a reality.
And to that, don't you think social accountability would come in handy? And the good thing is that
I like
you
the
say
word accountability.
Social accountability. We have the small percentage of people who are actually informed, who will point out, who will call you out as a person. I mean, I've seen a couple of people try to do that on social media. But what happens to those that actually know and they choose to ignore it? Don't you think that the social accountability there is not exactly... Because if your profession or your governing body for your specific profession is not going to call you out, because we have ruled out that those may not be very efficient at executing that. They don't have time, then probably they don't have the resources, maybe they don't have the power, you know, statutory power or what.
You look at some of these associations, you're managing about over 5,000.
I will tell you one, I have seen professionals in different domains undermine their exact, they will actually trash their same governing bodies.
It's what we're saying. How can you attack the leader and you think you will submit to the leadership?
Yes, there is no submission.
First and
foremost,
I want to leave the journalists, because now they will take me on. But if you have an institution, one, what is their source of? Because they need to maintain some of these things. There are journalists in Guru, in Abim, in Kisoro. How do you link them up? Do you have a centralized way? Now, what can be done when where someone studies upon their graduation? That's why I told you there must be a statutory instrument for some of the most important professions in this country. You cannot tell us that journalism, UJA, is just an association registered. It should be a statutory body passed by Parliament, by an act of Parliament, compelling every journalist as a practitioner to be a part of that. It should have an annual subscription, it should have continuous training because of the involvement of... But what happens? It's like a circle. If you want, you be part. If you don't want, don't be. When you come to ULS, for example, Uganda Law Society, what happens? If you don't want, you know, there are even points for our AGMs, for some of the activities they do. Now, if you don't have those points, you may not have your certificate renewed. It means that every lawyer is compelled to be a part of the activities of the society. By law, if you choose not to attend, you will have to pay heftily to get your certificate renewed. These are some of the things we can do. But we need to send, and for me, the particular medicine or remedy for this is to centralize and legalize the most important institutions. During COVID, we experienced one of the biggest challenges with professions.
But if you say the most important, aren't you giving leeway to the other professions that we are probably considering not important, as not as much important? Because now we will be a little bit strict on these other professions, and I feel like that will be a loophole.
Let them make their case.
That will be a loophole.
Let them make
and
their
trust
case.
me, Felix, you'll get to know how bad that is until you hear stories. I am sure there are certain professions we've never talked about here on air or anywhere else, but until they start making these grievous mistakes, that's when you realize, wait, we shifted our attention to this domain and then we left out a different one.
I'm looking at a scenario where you may not be in position to legislate to statutarize all professions, but if they make their case. But the reason why I'm saying most important, because they're the ones that society repels mostly around. Yes. When you look at engineers, okay, civil, whatever, electronic, what, engineers. Go to doctors. Okay? Today they have a parallel body, there's the other body. But take out bina. Simanyi the doctors,
They'll tell you,
they are fighting Philomena's. But you can only have one. Satirize it. Look at lawyers who are fairly doing well in that area. At least I've seen many people being apprehended. You go to teachers. Now, government catered for theirs. How about the private? Yet the private have more than the people. What happens? Because these are most important professions. Every day you have an headmaster who's marrying a student. Who deals with that? So, Mr., for them, they turned schools into marriage or searching, Baba Kunonya places. Who deals with that? Where is the apprehension?
Also, we could say there is a challenge of some of these bodies are selective in the issues they handle.
Why?
Very,
you know
very
why?
selective.
Because they are not statutory. Because if you're
We're
dealing
talking about teachers, yeah, we have hosted members from UNATU and wherever, and they're talking about their welfare. They're talking about their payments, their salaries. They're talking about a few things here and there. But when it comes to matters of discipline in that capacity and professionalism, I don't think, and I stand to be corrected. Yeah, but I don't think I have had cases where they come out to apprehend some of these teachers. Some of these stories have been national, those stories that have grabbed the attention of the nation, and unless the law comes in, I haven't had anything that comes in from these bodies. And I'm thinking, so why are they selective? Why are they picky with whatever it is they want to talk about, deal with? If it's not salary, it's not welfare, that's just about it.
And the challenge we face, again, if you come to that, is the absence. Because if there's a well-stipulated legal instrument that says, if A does this, we deal with them in this way. If B does this, we deal with them in this way. If C does this, you don't even have to struggle because it's already in the law. But because we deal with most important things casually, someone comes, an engineer, they drop funny things and the building falls and kills people. 11 people dead. How many people do we lose to these collapsing buildings every day? But what happens? Does police record this person's license? What do the investigations do? Everything, there's corruption. We never get these reports. Fire gutted Sauriako Gaggawara. What was the cause? You see the purpose of professionalism. You would want to have a professional report of engineers. When it comes to fire like this, because this building was done, I think there was a mistake by the architect who did the architect work and what. I think going forward, this is the purpose of professionalism. Not only to apprehend, but also recommend. There are many errors we do. For example, you go to motor engineer. If you have a motor engineer association that is legal, they would assist us also with these accidents every day. Actually, accidents in this country kill more people than COVID killed probably in East Africa. Well, in just half a year. Towards the end of last year, we lost about 500 people in 3 or 4 months. Don't you think if we had an association, professional association, for these motor engineers to come and give us some advice and way forward? Okay? Civil engineers will sit and tell you, when you are doing the roads, you do this. Then the motor will tell you no. But for us, with experience in driving and motor cars and what, we are talking about inspection. That is how a country grows. A country doesn't grow when you have but we need to have national issues also discussed at that level. Not always meeting to sort out matters of onions and tomatoes, children going back to school, because you want to build a nation that is standardized. When these people are constructing these roads on how they finish the road, do they consult? Now they are building the hospital in Lubowa. I hear they gave them more money. Did they consult these associations of doctors? Ugandans, because they will tell you, for us when we sit in Mulago, we sit in Mengo, Namirembe, we sit in Nsambia, we sit in Chibuli. Lately, we are getting a lot of these cases. Do we do those consultative meetings, professional consultative meetings, that people who are gynecologists, mutuwe report as we plan to build a new hospital, specialized hospital, so we know where to put the major focus as a country.
Yeah.
The gynecologists, you task the whole institution of medical practitioners.
Because the assumption is that they actually have, the
most recent,
and
yes,
yeah.
and they'll write their dossier. They'll tell you, for us, APEDs today, kids are getting a lot of coughs for the last 3-4 years. Maybe when you're building, let's focus so much on this, and you know, then they will tell you the elderly, people who are professions, ENT, what happens here? Government, borrowed money, build a box thing there, put a corridor, mteke mwabutanda. As if people are going to, is it a lodge?
Felix, as we're getting into this,
the purpose of
yes.
professionalism is for, there's a direct relationship, as I always say, and academically, professionally, academically, that there's a direct relationship between professionalism and nation building and national growth. All right?
Yes.
When you come to challenges like, for example, these sagas, OPM, the issues of Mabati, goats. Now, the office of the Prime Minister, in its political capacity and knowledge, will deem it fit to say, people, let's give them iron sheets. Now, because there could have been, I don't want to dispute the fact that there could have been research.
Yes.
But if we involved professional bodies in issues of disaster, issues of climate, issues of relief, professional bodies, because Uganda hosts a number of refugees, we could have that body also. The people who have appreciated that discipline. Now, if they would give an advisory that if you want to give them iron sheets, maybe let's,
you know,
that would also what we lose. We lose a lot of money.
You say that, and
unprofessionalism.
It takes me back to when I had a comment coming from a certain class of professionals. They were talking about some of the ministers that had been appointed in specific ministries, and they're talking about the people who have been appointed in these ministries. We don't think they even have enough knowledge about the specific ministries they've been allocated to. Ideally, they would have opted for somebody who with good knowledge, with good knowledge about the ministry, because they believe that is a good starting point.
And you remember, sometimes I normally bring this to our discussion, the big contestation between political administration and socio-economic welfare administration is what we suffer from. And all African countries are suffering, save for a few. It's not just Uganda. In fact, Uganda could be fairly, because for us here, people, I see there's another issue for almost. People are, but you can imagine, when you look at the ministries, and very few ministries like of gender, labor, and social development. It should be at the forefront of assisting these professional bodies organize themselves, go to parliament and make a stamp to legalize, because it assists ministries of ICT. Imagine how much it can do. How much it can do for the youth, to help them, fix them, you know, with all these innovations. We need to have like an innovation hub, an IT innovation hub in the country. Smart kids, when someone in Nebiratuk somewhere invents something in the mind, they come here, IT experts help this person, they build. That is how a country moves. For example, medical innovations. You're talking about incubators, you're talking about, do we have to still buy beds, import beds? Beds! Philomena, I can make a bed. You can make a bed. You, a journalist, a bed. And we are here waiting in a container.
Now, Felix.
So, all these, just lastly.
Yes.
Okay.
Just one last question. Do you think a professional challenge should be seen as a criticism to a person's professional incapabilities or capacities? Do you think we can use that to criticize them for failure of having, can someone be professionally challenged and yet they have professional capabilities? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. I think that's of human nature.
Because
we
I
all
feel
face
like
challenges in as much as you can be one of the best lawyers, but if you're dealing with a lousy judge, what do you do?
Don't you think that sometimes we fail to grasp that as now in the context of Ugandans?
But you see, the absence of standardized appreciations of various professions or areas of practice is what brings into play that, Philomena. If the entry point was this narrow, you either get a size that fits you to get through, you work so much to fit,
yes,
or you chill for the people who can fit to
actually
pass.
fit. Yes.
That is what professionalism is. You can't have a door that opens and adjusts omunene jangu inabutono or the small the one you can't. That seems to be professionalism. The door can't be adjustable to people's sizes. Yes. Professionalism means we have a standard size of entry.
You either fit in or you don't.
You cut the weight and go through, or you don't, or you have the weight to go through. Now, what you're asking, that is the problem. Because for us, we have adjusted the entry point. Every person, when the person comes very small, we reduce for them. Very big, we adjust. Medium, the profession cannot move standards for the people. The people should move standards to appreciate the, you get the point? Yeah? Because, and you see, that's where, yesterday I said something in relating to the people who are the generation that is passing on to us. And yes, some people took it personal. And I want to add to it, whether you want or not, that's your problem. 35 years ago, Philomena, I don't know which hospitals you've been to, but if God has blessed you to have a doctor who is around the age of 50, 55, 60, 70, you will see a difference with a doctor probably who's 29 or 30. And I speak with due respect. They are the Dr. Kasidezia, the Dr. Dungus, if you've rubbed shoulders, the Dr. Kagwaz, the Professor Musokes of this world, the Dr. Musoke, Dr. Mugisha, they have a different touch with everything. How they talk, how they dress. How do you see a doctor not putting on a tie? They never put on jackets, but you'll never find Dr. Kasidie without a tie, Monday to Monday. When they talk to you, they give you time. They will ask you, hey, okay, how are you feeling? Okay. There's a difference. What do we miss today? People do pakuka. I don't know what pakuka is in English, but
a cent. They're looking at the number of people.
You just said it.
It's very direct.
You find some. Have you heard of cases in hospitals where we have people who are sent to theaters, yet they're not supposed to go to theaters?
Yes. Because
we have to do a professional allowance of about 1 million of among women. I'm sorry, I feel sorry for the women who are pregnant all the time. It's called what? Lab. Every time, as long as they see someone, lab. Because there's some money that comes with professionalism. Now we are struggling as a generation to appease society. You want to buy a car, but you want to pass that bill to your patient. So we are struggling with professionalism because our professional doors don't have a size. They can expand, they can contract, depending the weather. If there are people who would have never been lawyers 30 years ago. People who would have never been doctors 30 years ago. You should thank your
well, it's good
generation.
Morning, Uganda. We have to bring this conversation to the end. But do you actually know,
like this.
do you have clear knowledge when it comes to the code of conduct for your profession? Do you know what you should be doing? Do you know what you shouldn't be knowing? Do you have a professional body that actually oversees what you do and are fully registered and also has statutory recognition? That is the kind of body we are talking about, not any kind of body. Well, the conversation still continues on our socials. Continue letting us know what you think. But for now, we are going to look at the big stories in our dailies. The Daily Nation, Ruto, Raila clash on ceasefire deal. And feud, of course, the president has said the talks will only take place through a parliamentary framework. And President's a big hustler nation headache. Also calls to Uhuru Raila and 2013 poll fallouts. And also giving you the D-Day adult filmmaker president and $130,000 in hash money, of course, talking about Donald Trump. And Miranda sent my son home. I found his body at mortuary gates. That and very many other stories in the Daily Nation. So grab yourself a copy, and our very own here, the Daily Monitor and the New Vision as well, to have a clear understanding of what's happening around the East African bloc. We will go for a break. When we get back, we'll be looking at the traffic reports. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
is that's a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak low.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's time for your traffic report this morning, and I can tell you that it's not going to be an easy one for you. There is a lot of traffic looking at the different parts of Kampala, and this obviously you could say because of the rains. Obviously there are a lot of stampedes, there are a lot of blockades on the roads, and a lot of chaos as it is usually around Kampala. But I'll take it all the way from Nakawa, looking at areas of Chinawataka as you're headed towards town, and clearly looking at that main road already heavy with the traffic, very intense traffic, I must say, looking at these maroon spots and looking at the red spots, clearly showing you that the traffic is taking on this stretch all the way as you're heading towards town. And yes, if you're leaving town, I can say that the traffic is also building up, and it is shown by these orange stretches. So that Nakawa route may not exactly be one of the routes that you want to look at, but if you're already in it, I would definitely ask you to exercise a little bit of patience. Looking at areas like Naguru as you're headed towards Nakawa, well, you'll be expecting traffic spots as well. Looking at this very specific one, looking at this spot here as well, obviously it means that you will not escape it. Now, looking at Lugogo close, it's very, very intense. The closer you get to town, the heavier the traffic, and clearly showing you these lines over here stretching. Lugogo is very, very busy this morning, so you need to be expectant of that as you're headed towards your destination if it's around town. Now, Guru Road is not any different this morning as well. Looking at the stretches all the way from here up to here as you're trying to navigate around that area, you should be expecting to see quite some heavy traffic. Lugogo bypass as well, very, very busy this morning. Looking at the traffic stretches as you're trying to join the Jinja Kampala Road, and obviously you will be facing traffic over there as well, so do expect that as you're trying to make your way around. And as you're headed towards a town as well, looking at the main road here as you're headed closer to Kampala Road, still we do have traffic here. This is the area around Electro Commission. We have cars coming in from Wampel Avenue, which also, by the way, is very heavy on the traffic this morning. We also do have cars coming in from Old Port Bay Road, and clearly showing you that we already have a traffic situation there as well. And as you come closer to joining the main road, which is Ginger Road, very, very heavy on the traffic. The red stretches are quite very, very long, so you will not really escape that one. We also do have cars coming in from the upper side. This is a use of Lule Road, which pours in cars from different parts, and is already heavy on the traffic. And as you're getting into the joining spot, the traffic becomes heavier by the minute. We also have cars coming in from Access Road. Access Road, of course, that brings in cars from the 8th Street and 5th Street and 4th Street. So there is already traffic over here. The arrows clearly indicating that it's quite a very busy morning around this very specific part of the road. Mukwano Road, very, very heavy on the traffic as well. It may not be an easy one for you. Press House Road, already the stretches are taking in all the way from the spot all up to the main part of joining the main road, which is Mukwano Road. So do expect that traffic. Station Road, though, on the other hand, is a bit free. You could use this as a detour to join onto Ginger Road. Of course, that is cutting in from Access Road. Use the back route to join Ginger Road. And looking at Kampala Road this morning, the traffic is starting to build up, and the anticipation here is that because we're still witnessing a lot of traffic coming in from the outskirts of the city, so therefore we haven't seen a lot of cars pouring into the main part of town. But it doesn't take away the fact that traffic is already building, and clearly you can see the orange lines indicating that. But also some bits of Kampala Road are already heavy on the traffic, clearly showing you here around the square. You can see that cars are already trickling in and causing an immense traffic over here. And also when you go all the way to continuing this to this part of Kampala Road, obviously there is some bit of traffic as well. And it's going to be a very busy morning, I must say. All I am asking you is to be very patient as you are trying to make sure you get to your place safe and sound. But also knowing that April is a rainy month and quite a busy month as well, I would encourage you to, get up early and hit the road if you really don't want to be inconvenienced by the traffic. I will leave it at that. Good morning.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Topic of the day on UBC. Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
that's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak Luo.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
Was brought to you by Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Jingati drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Jerry Con! Hey, Master Blaster! Touch him, man! Jerry Con with muscle! Those ones who say go for you only. Mundava! Best movies I teach you. But I'm going to put them squad because of the cover is very far. Is you serious? It's serious, you. What? Eh? You stay put on it. Add kilometers to your legs and you get your sugar. We buy meat of Umaru. And the woman refused to give you enough meat. Mama! Show him that they don't joke with you.
Okakaluka n'okulungi kwetaagako omuntu akuyambako n'olwekyo tujja kukuteerawo embeera esaanidde osobole okukola ekisinga awamu teri kitulema.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey! You don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS? We talk about it.
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
A logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good. We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come. Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
that's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak Luo.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run.
I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy. We are several nations put it together. Why don't you appreciate that? What if it fails?
I'm happy
and
to
he's
answer.
a good lawyer because Amin is not in power.
The parish development committee is functional. It is there. That there is a parish chief, that the beneficiaries do exist.
So we look at expenditure, we don't look at revenue, and that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The quest, giver of life, Alpha without Omega. I am Africa.
Hail to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, a land with the world's most beautiful, captivating features. Hills, mountains and valleys, the enigmatic animal species in the wild. A land where Africa is condensed into one small country with authentic endowments of nature and perfect safari. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is without the crowds with abundant primates, wildlife and stunning scenery. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, takes you beyond the guidebooks, the known features, and gives you the insights unmatched. Keep it UBC TV, where we inspire Uganda with the authentic beauty and nature of our motherland. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Discover the fountain.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is fairly a cold Wednesday morning. Good morning to you. Hoping you're fine and you're ready at your workstation, or you're still on the way. But one thing I know is it's not a weekend, neither is it a public holiday. So despite whatever is happening, if you have tasks to accomplish, well, you must do that. And remember, we all know we have two rain seasons, so rainfall shouldn't be an excuse, because anyway, March to May we have rain, August to December we have rain season as well. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono, welcoming you to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now here we usually have a guest or guests in studios and we discuss an issue of national concern, but you also have an opportunity to be part of the discussion by simply going on our various social media platforms, including our WhatsApp number that will be popping up on your screen. But also you can use the same number to send us a text message, the traditional SMS. And I can guarantee you I'll read every message that pops, that comes through, so that our guests can reply to that. More so the issue we are handling today, which of course many times has raised a lot of concern in our country. It has also led to some people losing lives, others returning but not as they left this country. What am I talking about? That is externalization of labor. And joining me on set this morning, I have officials from the National Organization of Trade Unions, that is NOTU, with whom we are going to be discussing this. Now, I have Okero Musa, Chairman General, NOTU. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
And of course, I know this is a man who assumed office not so long ago. But
just in January.
Just in January. Okay, so, but we can count, there will be 100 days, achievements and all that, but that is for another day.
Yeah.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. And on the other end, I have Moses Mauku, who happens to be the Treasurer General of NOTU. Most welcome, Moses.
Thank you so much, Brother Robert Kirabo. I'm happy to be at the UBC big channel once again to share with Ugandans on some of the biting issues surrounding externalization of labor in Uganda. I wish you the best.
Okay, now I want to begin with the chairman. First, I want to congratulate you upon this new office. It wasn't an easy sail over. I don't know if the storm has now calmed. Has it, or the tides are still there and all that?
Well, I wouldn't want to call it a storm. Where so many people come together, there will always be a disagreement. However, I must make this clear that I am acting. There are issues still to be sorted out by our structures. Once those issues are sorted out, then the members will decide on who leads them. For now, I am acting as Chairman General. Thank you.
Now, Chairman General, to begin with, I want my viewer to understand properly who I have and in which capacity are they able to discuss this issue. So when we talk about the National Organization of Trade Unions, what is this and what is your mandate?
The National Organization of Trade Unions is an old organization that represents workers in the formal, informal and private sector in Uganda, established way back in the 1960s, but eventually registered in 1976 under the Trade Union Decree number 29. We represent workers regardless of whether they are our members or not. As long as you're a worker, we are able to speak for you. And that is the main reason why we are here today, because the people we are going to discuss, the people that go out to the Middle East and other places to work, are not necessarily our members, but they are Ugandan workers who go to other countries, and we feel it's our mandate to speak for them and to address issues that affect them.
Moses, when you talk about externalization of labor, in a layman's definition, don't make it technical. You know, you people in trade unions have your terms, but simply what are we referring to so that the person watching us clearly gets on board with us?
Externalization of labor, in simple terms, refer to the movement of persons from their native country to another country which is not their own, in search of employment to earn a living. That's what I could simply state. And you'll find that externalization of labor is not starting now. It is only being pronounced these days in Uganda, especially because of the high levels of unemployment, especially amongst the youth. And the other conditions, environmental, climate change, poverty levels within our country, that is driving very many young people to go and search for employment elsewhere. But also, there are these demographic issues. People in Uganda, our birth rate has been over and above 3%. In other countries, it is less than 1%. There are countries where they are even trying to pay people money to produce children. I've been to Switzerland many times, and I was told that if you are a non-Swiss, a man, and you bear a child, the government pays you money monthly for bearing a child with a Swiss woman. You get allowances every month. Even you look at the percentage of youth as compared to the old, our graph is that there are so many youth and few old people, just because of our life expectation. I mean, expectancy is very low, so we have less old people than the youth. So we have very high levels of unemployment amongst the youth. At one time, a few years ago, it was standing above 87% of unemployed youth. And that is very dangerous. In the other countries, people don't produce children. If there are two, when you go to China, there is even a law that you are supposed never to produce beyond two. If you are to produce the third child, you must pay heavy taxes to be allowed to produce the third child. So such countries are in the look for people to work because actually they have more older people than the young people. So those are some of the reasons that have seen the bigger influx of Africans going to work in the Middle East and in Europe and other countries. So you will see that Uganda as a country, in 2022 alone, we exported, official export of labor. We exported 84,966 official people moving to go and work, in a majority in the Middle East, to that tune of 84,966 Ugandans. Only one country.
In official channels, because there are those
but
that
may
those
just
who
traffic themselves.
are trafficked.
Exactly.
Yes.
There are those that are trafficked, also in big numbers. There are those who traffic themselves because of the need for employment and earn slightly higher. So the numbers are immense, and these numbers are continuing to grow. Irrespective of the problems people have encountered at the other side, they are saying, that was his luck, let me go and try my own. That explains that there is a very big push factor in Uganda. And one of the big push factors for these younger people to go is lack of employment here. And even those that have gotten jobs here, the jobs are precarious in nature. This is a job where you cannot meet your basics. You can imagine if you are employed by a factory being paid 150,000 shillings, even if it is 200,000 shillings. You have a child or two, you have a wife, you have a parent, you have other things to take care about. Using 200,000 shillings, that money cannot sustain you for even a week.
Definitely.
But that is the salary people are getting, and very many Ugandans are actually earning less than $100.
Well, I think that I would somehow blame it on you people for failure to push for a minimum wage. We saw you push for midterm benefits. We've seen you push for so many things. But a country where there isn't a minimum wage, then it's left on factors of demand and supply. So if there is demand for labor, then if people are willing to work for that amount of money, they'll work, because there's no binding law preventing me from paying. Look at housemaids. Today, a housemaid, someone has a housemaid, and she's getting 50,000. For heaven's sake, 50,000 a month.
My brother, I want to agree with you when you blame us as trade unions for failure to institute or put in place a minimum wage. But I must tell you that for me, I joined the labor movement in the 1996. And that is one of the issues I found under discussion was minimum wage. Not to that time, in 1997, I remember, 97 or 98, they did an in-depth research on the value and the benefits of minimum wage. And I read a very huge report that time. I was young, but I used to look at that report. It was, every union got a copy of that report. And that report was proposing that let there be minimum wage. The only thing that was being discussed at that time is, should we have a general minimum wage like it were during the Obote's regime, or we sector the minimum wage? And we agreed that let there be a minimum wage sector by sector, not for all sectors having one minimum wage, because we have white-collar jobs and the blue-collar jobs. We have the skilled, semi-skilled, and the non-skilled. So if we have one minimum wage that is general, it may not be very useful in the different sectors. So even in the recent past, you remember that there is a law which was passed by Parliament about the minimum wage.
Which caused trouble over people when they came up with housemaids, how much they were. I think it was either misunderstood.
It was also subjected to a lot of research and surveys that were done. And we as the tripartite partners, Federation of Uganda Employers, NOTU, and the ministry responsible for labor, we agreed on figures. We have bipartite arrangements that we reached, especially under NOTU and Federation of Uganda Employers, on figures which we submitted to government for consideration, sector by sector. And this law was actually passed by Parliament. And when it was taken to the President for assentment, he deferred it. So much as the country may blame us, we are not solely to be blamed. The blame should also be cast on the side of the executive that denounced the signing or the assentment to the law that was passed.
Okay.
So we shall continue pushing, and we are going to start a new stride in the new style to ensure that we get the minimum wage for those.
Well, let me now bring in Moses. We are still looking at that is externalization of labor in this country. Now, Musa, we saw on the 29th of March, government of Uganda and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia signed a revised bilateral agreement on labor externalization. We had one that was running for 5 years. It expired in December. Then there was an extension of about 2 months to see and have some revisiting. Moses has told us that externalization of labor has been around for a long time, but coming up and documenting. And why today we want to look at specifically domestic workers, because it is where we've had a lot of problems. There are people working as security guards, there are people working in other, even in the US, UK, everywhere, Ugandans are everywhere, South Africa. But this particular group of people we are discussing is because it is the only group that government of Uganda, with one country, by the way, must emphasize, has bilateral agreements for housemaids, if I may call them that, or house managers. Now, let's begin with this new signing. People are hopeful that it may be a solution to a number of problems that have been coming out.
Thank you very much. First of all, I am glad that a new agreement has been signed. But the question here is, what did the previous one do? What did we achieve from the previous one? You know, it's possible to sign agreement after agreement, but if there is no clear method of following up the implementation of those agreements, they will just be paper in the shelves. So, as NOTU, we are saying, look, even at the signing of those agreements, we need to have an input. We need to understand what you are signing, how it's going to help the workers who are going out of this country. We need to understand how it's going to benefit them. And then it shouldn't just be a bilateral agreement. The workers' representatives should have been part of that agreement. That then gives us the audacity to go forward and even do a follow-up on these people when they get out of this country. But as it is now, we don't even know the details of what was signed. And that makes it difficult for us, but even the workers who are supposed to benefit from this agreement. Because I am not sure if they even know that an agreement was signed. I believe they don't know. Now, if you don't even know that an agreement was signed that is supposed to benefit you, then how do you benefit from it? In the first place, government should know that issues concerning workers are a tripartite issue, where the government and workers' organizations must get involved. And that is where there is a problem. Their failure to involve the workers' organizations is causing all these things you see. Because we do not know what happens to these people when they reach Saudi Arabia. We don't even know whether government has people in Saudi Arabia who follow up these girls and boys up to the places where they go to work. But I believe they don't, because if they did, the cries we are hearing wouldn't be there. So for me, the way...
It is work in progress because the earlier agreement had proposed that government must have attaches based in these countries, but that has been a problem. However, they asked labor companies, recruitment agencies, to have their attaches based there so that they can handle these problems.
Yeah, but in the meantime, what do we do? People are suffering. In the meantime, we should have a stopgap measure. Let's say, okay, let's have a workers' representative, let's have government, and let's have somebody representing the companies that take these people out, come together and agree on how these people can be protected while they're out of this country. That is not happening. And it's our plea to the government that these people who go out do not benefit only their families, they benefit this country in terms of taxes. And so, I mean, if they all stayed here, we don't have jobs for them. But also going forward, I think the most important is to see how our people can be employed at home. How we can create jobs for our people at home. We have so many investors that come here, they set up factories, and in some of those factories you find they have come with workers from their home countries, which is very unfortunate. I would rather that in some of these agreements we sign with investors, there is a clause that ensures that this person employs at least 70% Ugandans in that workplace. That is not happening now. And I think that is the way to go. Then we will reduce on the many people going out and we will reduce on this suffering that they are facing. But for now, we need to know how to follow up these girls and boys who go out of this country and how we can help protect them while they're outside this country.
Well, just remind our viewer that you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply using that number on your screen. Send us a WhatsApp message, send us a text message on 0709 60 25 92, 0709 60 2592, and I guarantee you I'll read every message for the people, the workers' representatives I have here to be able to respond to all those. Yes, Moses, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Comrade Robert, I just wanted to add a few things on what the Chairman General has just made mention about. One is that, as a matter of fact, the government has some people they contact. Some people. It could be one or two or three, but not enough. If you have an embassy, even in countries where they have embassies, I want to take an example. You have an embassy with maybe one attaché. The ambassador won't move to people's houses or homesteads. Even if you had 10 or 20 or even 100, look at the numbers we are talking about. You want to go at it alone as government.
Every month between 500 to 10,
the influx in a year
Uganda
is actually 84,000. That is about 90,000. When you add those
that is a whole year,
take themselves there through some means, about 90,000 people in 1 year. Then you are talking about one attaché or three that you have in Saudi Arabia to monitor what happens with these girls. That is why we have had a lot of ramifying effects on some of these girls that go out. Some of them actually leave marriages to go in a bid to look for a living, and they come back insane. They come back, they have removed their internal organs. They come back when they have run mad. Many of them.
I've seen many that come back.
For me, as a union, you know, while I am the Treasurer General of NOTU, but I'm also the General Secretary of Uganda Hotels, Food, Tourism, Supermarkets and Allied Workers Union. The union that organizes even domestic workers locally here. And we have had these issues for a long time. And we have been following on these matters for a long time. We have 1, 2, 3 people. Everybody is running after the same person to look into the issues of these girls in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in all those countries there, the receiving countries. These people are not enough. We need a multifaceted approach in trying to address the issues of these girls.
Now, Moses, this is where I want to ask you.
Yes,
when you look at, and I want to emphasize this to our viewers, that for any girl to leave Uganda, I don't want to use girl because they're beyond or above the age of 18. Actually, the recommended age is 21 years for someone to leave Uganda to work as a domestic worker. Government of Uganda only externalizes officially,
yes, please,
to Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, whatever. You're there on your own, you're trafficked, because there is no binding agreement between those people. That's why sometime back we had worked with Jordan, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, but I think things didn't go well, and now we don't have a running contract with them for externalization of domestic workers. So first, you must, if you're to go through a company, and you know your destination should be Saudi Arabia. But Moses, when you look at these agreements, they're between Uganda and Saudi Arabia.
Yes, please.
Now, where do we involve in trade unions, consultants, all these? Because it's side by side. Saudi people could also have what they want. So where do you come in a bilateral of this magnitude?
I want to enlighten you and Ugandans. The Chairman General made mention of the fact that anything to do with a worker under the principles, the Declaration of Fundamental Principles of Rights by ILO, to which Uganda is a member state.
And Saudi Arabia is now a member state.
Well.
Yes.
Every time, every nation that is a member state to United Nations and ILO as such, when you are dealing with issues to do with the workers, you must have the three parties. In all engagements, there must be a worker, there must be a government, there must be the employer. And this is what the government is doing as a very huge mistake, is to do things single-handedly, thinking they will achieve. Probably because they attract money from these girls.
Saudi Arabia alone, last year we got
not about money.
700 million USA dollars.
Yes, it's about
That's
the
a lot
safety
of
of these
money.
workers. For us as a federation, we do not only represent people that pay money to our organ. We represent every employee. When we are setting or when we are contributing towards the process of enactment of laws, review of the laws, policies, we don't say that we are doing it for only people who are subscribing to the unions. No. We do it to every employee in Uganda, including those that have not yet gotten into employment. We provide for them.
You see, we cannot keep running away from responsibility. You can't keep telling people that we only have agreements with Saudi Arabia, so wherever you go, you are on your own. Every Ugandan deserves the protection of its government. Every Ugandan, wherever you are. So this idea that we only have agreements with Saudi Arabia, the authorities must find a way of protecting Ugandans wherever they are.
Exactly.
We are not living in the Stone Age. We all know what happened during slavery. People were forced to go and work. Now they are not being forced. But if you leave them the way they are now, they end up being slaves, which we would not want to see, really. We are calling upon the authorities. Please do everything you can to ensure that people who go out to work, wherever they go, whether you have agreements there or not, we have embassies in those countries. Let our people be protected.
I wanted to add one thing.
Yes, before I move on.
One reality is that, while we are doing all this, the reason I want to believe that some of these things are done on purpose and commercially is we have Convention 189 that was passed in 2011. That is the convention that covers the domestic workers. Uganda up to today has not ratified this convention. We are grappling with the issue of amendment of the Employment Act to include the definition of a domestic worker to be recognized as an employee. Government is still saying no. Can you imagine? So we want to treat our people outside, those that go to work outside, we want them treated very well. How are we treating the domestic workers here? That is a very huge concern. They don't want to recognize these people as workers. When they talk about minimum wage in Uganda, everybody is looking into his house or her house.
Yeah, but if you have a minimum wage,
if
how
I'm
much
going
will
to give
I?
a minimum wage of 200,000 shillings, am I willing? But the person saying this is earning 20 million shillings a month and paying a domestic worker in his or her house 50,000 shillings. That is how mean we are becoming. So we want to urge government, one, to begin home, ratify the Domestic Workers Convention, that is ILO Convention 189, so that we begin here as we strive for the other people. So that is why, to me, sometimes I believe that they are doing all this because of money. They get money from these girls who go out to suffer the other side. And the issue of monitoring their welfare, monitoring their safety is secondary, as long as we register numbers that make us earn more money. Because if we were to be exemplary, we would have started here. We have been talking about this convention to take care of these domestic workers. It is one of the reasons domestic workers have even become rowdy and against the children that they take care about, because their employers in their houses are also mistreating them by way of payment, not allowing them to eat the same food they, you cook food and then you are not meant to eat from this food. You wait for the housemates to first finish eating, then you eat the leftovers. And then stupidly you leave this child, your own blood, with the very person you are torturing like that. So in the end you find this woman is also torturing your house girl. So such things, government has a hand. Let us begin here. Domesticate, ratify and domesticate conventions that affect or deal with the issues to do with domestic workers. Then also try to perfect what happens with our own that go to work the other side. Okay. And we should take interest.
Moses and Musa, the number of messages coming in, let me just go through them very, very fast. Good morning. I would like to know why NOTU is very quiet on workers' rights violations in the Arab countries. It is high time we have a manual written to the public about the roles and mandate of NOTU. That is Sam from Kanungu. Thank you so much, Sam, for watching. Then we have another one. Good morning, guys. Thanks for the show. Actually, our children are suffering a lot outside the country. The government should do much to save lives of hustlers worldwide. Kamboi from Buko, Uganda. Well, thank you, people watching from afar. We appreciate. Thanks for the show. When issues happen to our people working in these countries, we hear companies and governments saying they are going to follow up. But in the end, no findings and perhaps no solution. Maybe the bilateral agreement needs to be strengthened. And let me have just this one. Uganda is just known for labor union. And they are weak. They are dedicating money from work, they're deducting money from workers' salaries in care for markets, supermarkets, but they even fail to make clear signs where you can find them. Help me and ask that guy in white, okay?
That is me.
About the saga of ShopRite, including its closing time. The man... Okay, Muchibi from Kampala. The man in white. Let me begin with the man in white.
The man in white, let me begin with Muchibi. You know, we used to represent the workers of ShopRite. I must tell you, in my lifetime in the trade union, that is where I registered the biggest achievement. You know, we managed, during the time ShopRite was closing here, we increased the salaries after they had declared closure. When the time for negotiation of salary came, that was, we would change salaries every July, 1st July. So they declared this closure in May, the intention to close, because according to the agreements we had with ShopRite, they were supposed to notify the union if they had any intended layoff of workers or redundancy, and that was a layoff, permanent layoff. So during the preparations, what we did was to ensure that we go by what the agreement said, and we negotiated salaries and increased their salaries by 8%. So that meant that their terminal benefits increased by 8% automatically. But the declaration for closure of ShopRite had been already written to us, notified. In the same period, we contacted the owners of ShopRite in South Africa and again improved the terms so that we still better the take home that employees could get. We contacted Majid Al Fatahim hyper supermarkets, the Carrefour you see today, so that during the change of management, 90% of the employees of ShopRite were all accommodated into Carrefour, and with our agreements and our involvement. So Mr. Muchibi, or Brother Muchibi, is talking out of no information. We have never helped workers the way we helped those in ShopRite.
Okay.
Because we managed to give them a big amount of money as gratuity, which they earned when ShopRite definitely stopped. So we do a lot of things, only that we have a problem of not publicizing everything that we do.
Okay.
For a ShopRite employee who knew what she was meant to have earned, if it was not the union to be there, he knows that they earned greatly. We retained their jobs by negotiating a transfer to the new employer, and we made sure they get a lot of money in terms of gratuity.
Okay, I'll come to Chairman General, that you're silent.
Yeah, thank you.
About this very issue that we're discussing today.
That is one of
It's good you have brought that to me. And I'm wondering whether, how someone can be silent when he's talking.
On TV.
Because I am here. And no one pushed us to come here. We just felt this thing is an issue that must be discussed. And if we were quiet before, maybe because we did not publicize what we were doing. But today, we want to tell you that we are on this matter, and we are not going to sleep until a solution is found to the suffering of our people who go out to work. I mean, some of these are our own relatives. Some of them are our children. We are not going to just keep quiet, and because we are poor, because we don't have jobs here, we want our people to go and work. No, 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 no. We want our people to go and work, but we also want them to have decent working environments. So we are not going to be quiet. We are not quiet. We are talking now.
Good morning, Uganda. Thanks for the program. The Uganda has a problem. They pass a law, after passing it, they sleep. Therefore, I request government to monitor the laws and that are normally passed, cause as people we suffer, yet we have laws that were passed by government. Okay, well, time seems to be flying, but let's look at the way forward, beginning with you, Moses. This is a problem. We would say government has tried to revise. There are a few new clauses that bring more responsibility. It's now not so much on these companies that are carrying out externalization. There's now government, the companies, and the government of Saudi Arabia now also to be more active in this new revised agreement. But what should be the way forward for these girls?
One
the safety.
Implementation of NLO is a responsibility of various people. And it begins with the very person the law affects. I want to share with you one simple fact. Even if you killed an individual person and nobody sees you kill, nobody complains about the kill, you have committed no offense in the eyes of the law. But even if you have never killed anybody or even pinched somebody, and somebody comes and says, I am accusing you of having killed so-and-so, the following day you will be behind the bars for having done nothing. But the real person who has killed is the other side, free. So it all begins with the person that the law affects. I want to applaud you, these women and girls. They have tried to really shout their problems. And that is how we have gotten to realize that these things do happen. I also want to appreciate the development in the whole world, communication. the WhatsApp things. So even when somebody has a problem in Dubai or in Bahrain or Saudi Arabia, within a minute the problem is known. The whole world.
WhatsApp groups, TikTok.
Yes. So these things are helping. However, this is an international matter. It's not a matter of Uganda. It's not only Uganda that sends, women and boys into those countries. The whole world is sending. So what we are going to do, this time we are going to, in May, June, we shall be in Geneva. And one of the things that we want to raise with the International Labour Organization is the deplorable conditions under which these girls are being serving their their duties within those countries. We meet with these people there, but they are sometimes dodgy. I remember one time, Honorable Janet Mukwaya, while we were in the International Labour Conference, she asked me, Mauku, you try to look for me. I want these people. So we would be like scouts. You go to the assembly hall and sit on the desk for Bahrain. When you read the program, Bahrain is supposed to present on this matter, the government. So you go and sit at their desk to wait who comes there, because we are in thousands of people there. So you wait, and when they come, you exchange business cards. You tell him, my minister wants to meet you after your presentation. So you do an appointment there, because government had tried to write to them. They are not even responding. So we go for the physical. So those are some of the things that we are going to continue to do. We want to make it a point of discussion in the ILOC in Geneva, and also want to make personal contacts with these governments and the fellow trade union leaders in those countries, so that we can see how best we can collaborate, network, and partner to ensure that we try to improve the terms and conditions of these girls while the other side.
Okay.
Back here, we want to implore Uganda government to ratify Convention 189 that deals with domestic workers right from here, and domesticate that convention into law.
Well, thank you, Moses. Chairman Nyonyintono Aminat.
I want to call upon all Ugandans. This matter is not a matter of NOTU. It's not a matter of some employer. I want to call upon the employers' organizations, the government of this country, to work with us, the workers' organizations, to see how we can make life better for our sisters and brothers who go out to work. It's not time for us to blame each other. Let's come together and find a solution to the problem. I think that is the way to go. Because this country is not running away. We are here. And we know that we cannot employ everyone here. So let's see how we secure the lives of those who go out of here to go and work. Most of them are not professionals, so they need our protection. We can only do that if we work together as a tripartite. Thank you.
Well, time is flying so fast, unless you can use less than a minute.
Less than a minute. I want to salute every Ugandan. I want to salute government. I want to salute NOTU, Federation of Uganda Employers, and the tripartite arrangement, but also wish to inform Ugandan that we as NOTU are working with ILO to establish a toll-free center where we are going to try and connect these workers to have, to call free without necessarily using money, and inform NOTU about their problem. But when that toll-free center is set, we shall come and inform Ugandans. On the other side, the Uganda Hotels, Food Tourism and Supermarkets and Allied Workers Union, we are also having a migrant resource center at our head office. Its main purpose is to handle the labor returnees, the migrant labor returnees. These girls come with all their sorts of problems, and they don't know what to do next. Some of them come with money, and they don't know what to use the money for.
Well, Moses, in the interest of time, I'm sure we shall have that discussion for another day, but that is a step in the right direction.
Please.
Welcoming back these girls. Some are stressed, depressed, and all that. But thank you so much. That is Moses Mawuku, who happens to be the Treasurer General of NOTU and the Acting Chairman General Okero Musa. Thank you so much for your time. We hope and pray that we shall have a multi-sectoral approach to issues of labor in this country, more so labor externalization. Sports next. See you in the next hour. Good morning for now.